Hi everyone. So it's been a while that I've filmed a Q&A video. My goal is always to do it monthly, but I never get around to it. I was looking forward to it today though, to sit out here and connect with you guys. I do have a few things I want to mention before getting into the questions. First of all, my hydrangeas are blooming that are planted along our deck. You might have seen them in the videos. I think I've mentioned how they never bloom for me, but we just kind of have them there for the plant, to cover up the underneath the deck area. And this year they're blooming. I can't believe it. And I should just give a brief backstory on where those hydrangeas come from. My mom had actually planted that hydrangea back here in this area where my shed is. And it was a huge plant, by the time we moved here, and it stopped blooming. I don't know, was it just too root bound or why it didn't bloom anymore? I know Mom had tried everything, and at one point it did bloom very nicely, but it stopped blooming. So we just took it out, and I remember John took the chainsaw and cut it into sections, and then we planted it along the deck with, again, the intention of, covering up that underneath the deck part. And I think a few of the plants might have gotten a couple blooms over the years, and I tried everything. Like sometimes I trim them, sometimes I wouldn't. So I tried both ways, but this year I didn't trim them and they bloomed. But again, I did that before and they didn't bloom, so I'm not sure what's going on. I've heard other people say their hydrangeas are just beautiful this year, so I don't know, was everything just right for them that they're blooming? Just so pretty. And a few other things to mention. First of all, I have bread going in the house, so if you hear a timer, I always have to set a timer. I forget about it. It's rising in my little pans right now, so if you hear the timer going, that's telling me to go check on it. Another thing I wanted to say is just again mentioning June 15th, that event that we had here in our little town of Berlin, Ohio. I got to meet a lot of you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out. I think I had briefly mentioned it in another video, but sometimes in a Q&A I feel like I'm kind of more one-on-one with people or connecting on a different level, but I just wanted to again say thank you for those of you that came to see us. It's just a really fun and encouraging day, and I know a lot of you would have wanted to be there, and of course it wasn't possible, which is totally okay, maybe next time, but I really enjoy talking with you guys. I feel like we all have a similar tastes, and we can kind of connect in that way. So much fun. And then also I get gifts on the mail, and I don't always get them mentioned here in my videos, but thank you. You guys know who you are, but I'm always blown away how you know exactly what I like. Like I've never gotten anything that I thought, ooh, that's not really, my taste or whatever, but I just get lots of beautiful things, and I feel so unworthy. Like, you don't have to send me things, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. And I also wanted to mention we have an upcoming trip, so if my vacation coming up, so if my videos are a little bit random, I guess you could say, it's probably because of that. And by the time this goes out, we might be home already, I'm not sure, but it's one of those things where I sometimes have to take footage that has been filmed a while ago, or just some various projects that we've been doing around here that I film and don't always get the video made right away. Those come in handy then if we do decide to take a little trip or vacation. And that was my timer, so I better go check on that bread. Okay, so the bread's in the oven. Set a timer to keep an eye on that. Getting into the questions, the first questions are from the video that was the Amish food ideas video. And the first one here is Carol saying, "Hi Mary, I live over in North Yorkshire in the UK, and we used to make the bread soup omitting the beans. We called it milk pobs. Like you said, it was made for young children, or if you weren't feeling too good, it was gentle to digest. Can you believe we live thousands of miles apart, but still share familiar food recipes?" I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And that is far out, that we live thousands of miles apart and can connect in this way. And I guess that's the glory of the internet, right? Marcia says, "I grew up in central PA with wonderful Amish neighbors. Can you share a whoopie pie recipe? No one in Kansas makes them, and my try was a flop. Thank you for sharing your family story with us." I will try to keep that in mind. I love whoopie pies. In fact, it's one of my weaknesses. I like chocolate, and with that sweet filling inside, so good. But I'll definitely keep that in mind. In fact, I do have a list on my phone of some more Amish food ideas that I want to make a video of sometime, and I'll add whoopie pies to the list. Amanda Clark says, love these. Thank you for sharing. How long is the peanut butter good and how should it be stored? We normally just store it, out on the counter. We don't put it in the refrigerator. I mean, you could. It would probably last longer, but it often gets kind of stiff and then it's hard to spread on the bread if you have it in the fridge. And I would say it lasts for, a couple weeks, just out on the countertop. Just Mommy says, do you shop at Walnut Creek Cheese Company? I follow someone on Instagram who shops there a lot. Her husband is Amish. Very delicious recipe you made today. Well, thank you. My background is Scottish, so very difficult recipes. It's very interesting how different people eat. Thank you for sharing your recipes. I do shop some at Walnut Creek Cheese. We have a few Walnut Creek cheeses here in our area. One is more towards Walnut Creek, and then the other one is in Berlin. And I'm probably more likely to go into the Berlin one. It's not quite as busy as the Walnut Creek one is. Beth asks, what was Ephraim's opinion about the pudding? Did he like it? Yeah, he thought it was good. I thought I got his reaction on there, but maybe it wasn't clear, but I haven't made it since. I mean, honestly, a lot of these recipes aren't something that I still make a lot or anything, but I just wanted to share them since it's what I ate, growing up. And it was just sometimes it's fun to just go back, and it's kind of nostalgic, I guess, to eat food that you ate as a, growing up. And the bottom comment here is saying, which the bottom comments, in case you're new here, are usually negative. Weirdly, like YouTube will know which comments are negative, and those will end up at the bottom. And I don't address them to have people, feel bad for me, or I just address them because I think they're interesting, and it never bothers me what people say. I mean, usually not. I don't let it get to me, I guess you could say, but it's just fun sometimes to see what people say in that regard, more on the negative or critical side. Horribly unhealthy meals, only butter, sugar, flour in huge quantities. Where are the fruits and vegetables? I wouldn't even try this. Greetings from Europe. Yeah, the video wasn't anything about healthy recipes at all, and I think I disclosed that at the beginning. It's just some food that I thought was interesting, things that I grew up eating, and we didn't have it all the time. We of course had fruits and vegetables too, but for the video's sake, it was only, some Amish food ideas, I guess. It wasn't supposed to be healthy or anything. And then I got a few comments here. MB gets these questions together for me, and sometimes she'll post some comments that aren't necessarily questions, but things that she finds interesting. And I got a few comments here about, I think I had mentioned that we call that soup, like the bread and the bean soup. We call it boppeli soup, which is, I said, the Pennsylvania Dutch, or the Dutch word for baby. And people really corrected me on that. It's the German word for baby. But our Pennsylvania Dutch language is such a mixed up thing, I guess you could say. We have Swiss, and there's English in there, and German, so sometimes I'm not sure where the word actually originates from, so I might just say it's our Pennsylvania Dutch word for so and so, but I realize it's not really an authentic language. The next questions are from the backyard makeover video. The first one here is, Mary, the large border stones are all from your property? Yes. The updated area is amazing. Hope you have a good day and be safe. Well, thank you for that. But yes, our stones, any rock stones we use around here are from this property. We always joke about it, like we literally live on rocks. But pros and cons to that. It's nice if you want some to, of course, landscape with, but not so nice if you want to dig a hole. Whimsy and Me says, so beautiful, Mary, and very inspiring. Thank you. I love to hear the birds and learn about the plants that you have over there. I can only wish to one day smell lilacs and all the other amazing plants you grow over there. Can I please ask if you have any plans for the cute red cottage in the back? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I'd want to repaint it. I get a lot of questions about our, it's kind of my, I guess, potting shed. I store a lot of my extra pots and just gardening related things in there. It's not a very large building, but you might have seen it in the background in some of my videos. I've never really been in there, maybe filming or anything, but I do want to clean it out and possibly paint it, hopefully later this year. It's actually a little shed that my husband John had built for the boys when they were just little, and they used it as a clubhouse, so that's kind of why it was built initially. Laura Green says, wow, that really opened up a beautiful space, but you didn't show the view of the pond from the deck. I know, I forgot to do that. I think I did it then in the next video or in a later video, which was too late, but I can try to get Kenny to throw a clip of that on here, but it's amazing how it opened things up. Now, of course, some of the other trees, you know, grew in, so we can't just see the pond very clearly from the deck, but a lot better than it was before. I love it. I'm usually not one to cut down trees. In fact, I'm probably sort of a tree hugger, but that was definitely worth it. Like, I love it. I like it so much better than it was. And it was a really overgrown Norway spruce. It was kind of time for it to go. She goes on here asking, did it turn out the way you wanted? Be sure to give us a follow-up on the grass pathway. Yeah, the grass didn't, it's growing, but it's not just lush and green at this point. It's having a hard time. I'm not sure, is it just the soil not being, you know, the best soil, but we won't give up on it though. It might, you know, grow out some more. And that was my timer for my bread. Okay, back again, and hopefully we can finish this without any more interruptions, but the next question here is Jean asking, or saying, hard work does pay off, gorgeous, well thank you. Question, do you spray yourself for ticks? Be safe and God bless. I don't around here. Like if we are out, you know, hiking somewhere, I will definitely spray myself, and now more than ever, because I learned the hard way. I didn't really talk about this on here, but last summer I did get a tick bite and had, you know, the painful rash, and wasn't sure that was what it was. Should have gone to the doctor sooner and waited too long, but ended up being on those antibiotics they give for that, like really strong antibiotics. Of course, no one likes that, but I would advise anyone, if you are suspicious about a tick bite, just go take the antibiotics. It's much better than dealing with the Lyme's disease, because that's what I tested positive for, and I've been on different things as far as just natural things. I'm really taking a lot of vitamins, and I definitely still have symptoms of it, but I think, I mean, knock on wood as I say this, but I feel like it's getting better. Like my off days are fewer than they were at one point, but it's just not something to take lightly. I mean, I don't even like saying that because I know there's much worse things out there, but it's just still not fun if you don't feel like yourself every day. So yeah, definitely be aware of that. Next question here is, do you ever worry about snakes when you're harvesting rocks? Yes, I think about it about every time I flip a rock over. I'm just kind of, and then once you start thinking about it, you're so, you know, jumpy about anything that moves, or a leaf that blows in the breeze, or, you know, I know snakes are just part of nature, but it's just not something I like to stumble upon. Florence says, do you ever just rest? Seem you work so hard all the time. Of course, in my videos, I'm always working. You're not going to see me rest. Who would want to watch that, right? But I do get some rests in now and then. But honestly, I actually enjoy working. And sometimes the work is not really, you know, work to me. It's more just maybe a hobby, or it's, yeah, just something I enjoy doing. But I make sure to rest too, because I know that's important. And the bottom comment here is Rebecca saying, don't cut the tree. I thought I'd probably get a comment like that in the bottom, which I totally understand. I'm usually that way too, but in this case, I love it. Like, I wouldn't want it back, and I'm normally not one to cut down trees. In fact, when I even just briefly mentioned it to John, he almost ran for the chainsaw because he just couldn't believe he's able to, like, guys like to chop down trees, you know, so he thought this was really something that I'm actually agreeing to cutting down a tree. I don't think it's ever happened in our marriage, so I'm definitely not one to cut them down. And the next questions are from the Cottage spring decor video, and I think these aren't necessarily in the right time frame order. I guess I should have started by, or tried to have them in the correct order of when they were, you know, released, but I think they're alphabetical order. The first question here is, you're such a hard worker, doing all that mulch is backbreaking. All those flowers will look so pretty in the summer. Don't you have deer on your property? Everything I plant is eaten by them. Over by the cottages, we don't have any deer. I mean, there might be some around, but we don't have any issues with them. And around here, we actually don't either, except for this spring. They had kind of nibbled on my blueberry plants, but they haven't since. It was just that one time. I'm not sure. I guess it was a deer. Maybe it wasn't even, but we normally don't have deer issues, you know, here or where the cottages are, thankfully. I think it's enough in the country that they probably have other places to graze, like in fields or the woods, that they leave our gardens be. But I hear a lot of people talk, when they talk about, you know, having issues with deer, they might be closer in town. I'm not sure is that a thing, or I'm sure there's some in the country that deal with that too, but thankfully around here so far we haven't had many issues. Next question here is, I was wondering if you'll add more cabins, and if so, have you ever considered a 2-bedroom cabin with twin beds and second room for families to stay? I think that would be really neat. The only time we talk about, or if I talk about adding something else over there where the cottages are at, I've said this before, but I would still love to find a little old house that could actually be moved. You guys know how people sometimes move, you know, large farmhouses even. But this would just be a smaller scale little house. And I'd love to move it up there into the orchard, maybe even call it an orchard house. I don't know, is that a thing? But in my mind it is. But I think it would be so much fun to like redo it and restore it to its original beauty. But who knows if that will ever happen, but it's something I'd want to do. But I still think it would also be a neat idea, more, you know, family-oriented place to stay, but at this point we haven't really talked about that. The next question here is, beautiful, but the living and dining room windows don't have curtains or window treatments for privacy. Yes, they do. We actually got Creative Homes. It's a local company that specializes in really good shades. Like, I love their shades. They're very high quality, well made, and they offer privacy. And the best thing is they're kind of hidden, like you can't really see them, so that's probably why you didn't notice them. Brenda says, it's amazing to see the guest cottage process fly by. Life is fast. Just wondering why the dyed black mulch. Is it treated for bugs or just for color choice? I'd say it's just dyed for color choice, like it won't fade as quickly as, you know, your other mulch would. Suzanne says, I was wondering about the cottages on Airbnb. Clicking on the link takes me to Airbnb, but it says these cottages are run by Dustin and Nicole. Does Airbnb have an issue and glitch? No, that is actually, Dustin and Nicole are our property managers. A lot of the Airbnb rentals you see are managed by other people, you know, other than the owners. Maybe not always, but in this case, yeah, we have Dustin and Nicole running them for us. And we would not have time to, I think it would be fun to maybe eventually do that, but at this point I'd have to cut something else out, and we just don't have the time to do it, and they do such an amazing job. I'm not even sure if I'd have time that I'd want to take that away from them. Like, I feel like they do a better job of it than we ever could. They're just so good with connecting with people, and trust me, you won't be disappointed if you book and you correspond with them. It's going to be, you know, prompt and just very helpful. They're amazing people. We really appreciate them. And the bottom comment here is, the blue dishes are beautiful, the white ones are bland. I guess that would be an opinion. I love white dishes too though, but I do like the blue and white ones too. The next questions are, grow your own food. And the first one here is, I didn't know you could plant tea plants. Could you show us how to harvest and use them when they are ready? I will try to do that, and I did get a few comments about that people didn't realize, or people maybe told me that they didn't realize you can actually plant tea, and we always had tea growing up. In fact, it even grows somewhat in the wild here. I say wild, but it's in people's fields. Like, I remember as a little girl, you know, playing in fields, and we'd come across patches of peppermint tea that we, you know, grazed on. But that was really good. In fact, I'd like to get a start of that. Just the old-fashioned peppermint field tea is what we called it. I think it would be neat to plant that in the garden. And then we always liked the softer, the woolly kind, like the spearmint. That was always our favorite. I think that's just branches blowing on the roof, but hopefully it's not, hopefully you can hear me. It's kind of breezy out, and it almost looks like it could rain. It would sound kind of nice here with rain on the roof. But yeah, I'll try to show you guys if I end up getting enough tea to harvest. I'll try to show you kind of what, it's really easy. You basically just snip it off and dry it. I sometimes use screens or just something to kind of, you know, get it off of the surface just a little bit and dry it in a dark place. And it's also really good to drink fresh, of course, hot and cold. I usually go hot during the winter and then cold in the summertime. Lynn says, sadly the deer will love your roses. How about a tall fence around the garden? We've thought about a tall fence, but honestly the deer have not bothered the roses so far. In fact, the only thing they got to, which I mentioned earlier, was those blueberry plants really early in the season, and so far they've even left them alone since. So thankfully, you know, so far they've stayed out of my rose garden. But I really like to see gardens that are surrounded by a fence, so I think that would always be an option if we'd have enough issues with them. Next question here, have you ever made elderberry jelly? We have. When growing up, Mom would sometimes make that. I haven't made it in years, but I would love to. I want to try different jams and jellies this year, but that would be a good one to keep in mind. And here's a question about my sandals. How the heck do you do all that work in just sandals? I love wearing flip-flops. I know it's not the best for your feet. Eventually I might have to start wearing shoes because of that reason, but it's just, I don't know, I just enjoy wearing flip-flops. It's comfortable for me and cool if it's hot outside. The bottom comment here is, please wear gloves and sturdier shoes when working in your garden. And as far as wearing gloves, I sometimes just like to feel the dirt on my hands. I know that probably sounds weird, but I just can still work the fastest and the best if I don't wear gloves and if I'm just in my sandals. So that's probably why you see me that way. And the last questions are from the porch decorating video. The first one here is, beautiful. What time can we all stop by for lemonade on your porch? Oh, I would love that. Of course, not possible, but I would say just create a space for yourself and, enjoy it on your own, or just, invite your friends, but that would be a fun thing to do somehow. Carolyn says, I love it. I did have a question though. I live in a wooded area like you, and I too love having pillows on my porch and patio areas. I have now lost 8 pillows to the squirrels. I'm keeping score and they are winning. Do you ever have issues with critters getting comfy on your outdoor spaces? Do you have any tips for keeping your pillows safe from the critters? No, I've never lost a pillow to a squirrel or any other critter. I'm not sure why ever they would do that. The only thing we have, probably the biggest nuisance around here for us are the raccoons. And I say nuisance, I mean they're just dirty and they can knock over plants and get on my bird feeder and things like that. Like, they don't really necessarily ruin anything, for me. But that would be kind of disappointing. And we have lots of squirrels too. And again, I feel maybe it's because or did you say you live in a wooded area? I wonder if it's close to town. Like, I feel like the squirrels, right now as I'm speaking of squirrels, I see one in the tree right in front of me. They can get really bold too, but they haven't gotten to my pillows, thankfully. But I feel like maybe they have enough other things to chew on around here, like natural and the woods stuff, that they will leave, those things be. But you said you live in a wooded area too, so I'm not sure. Mary Karen says, I love 99.9% of everything you do, Mary, but I don't like the metal gate. I'm curious how you feel about it now that it's been there a while. I like it. I honestly do. I know it's not everybody. I can see that it might not maybe match with everything around here, but my thing is more like I have memories of those gates. Growing up, people would have their yards fenced in, and then there would be this metal gate. It's not quite like some of them were, and I even think if I'd still come across an actual antique gate of what I remember people having, might not have been quite as high, maybe a little lower, and had some fancy, wire design on it. I think I might switch it out for that, but I've looked, I mean, they're hard to find. I feel like everybody kind of wants them around here, and this was kind of the closest thing I could get to, and I so far haven't grown tired of it. I always have it open, like I just kind of have it there for the look, but yeah, I like it. I do appreciate your 99.9% of the time you like the things I do. Will you do a video on your hairdo bun like you have today? I wonder how my bun was that day, but I get requests every now and then for that, and I always say I'll think about it, but honestly I probably won't ever do that because that's not what my channel is about. I don't want to say I'm not a hair person, because I am kind of a hair person actually, but I don't know that I'd ever do a video on it, but I'll keep it in mind. Love your style. Are the bird notices in the reveal real or sound effects? Everything is real. I never put sound effects in that aren't from around here. Like sometimes I'll be filming and the birds are singing, it sounds so pretty, and then maybe a dog starts barking in the neighborhood, just on and on. So then I'll edit that part out, but I'll make sure to add a clip later on of that same area of what it sounded like without the dogs, if that makes sense. So it's definitely, everything you hear on my channel is for the most part real. I can't really think that I've ever edited anything in that isn't. And the bottom comment here is also about the chain link gate is not attractive. Your style doesn't go with it. Well, again, yeah, it's just something I personally like. It's not necessarily supposed to go with everything else, I guess. I find myself drawn to those old gates. And MB put this one in here. She sometimes adds, like I said, other comments. It says, one of the things I love about your show is that you reuse things you've had for years. Many channels get brand new everything every season, and I find that unrelatable. It's fun to see how to reuse things you already have, but in different ways. Well, I appreciate that. That is my goal, is to do that. Even I've always been that way. I like to try to make use of what I have, but not that I don't buy every now and then too. We all need that sometimes, but it's just a fun challenge to see what you can put to use. So that's all the questions for today, and again, my goal is to keep doing this and try to stay caught up with my videos. And I talked to the boys about it. I know they still owe you guys a Q&A video. All the questions are put together. It's just taking the time to sit down and do it. I don't know why. I should just, you know, make them do it, I guess. But it's not that they don't want to. They seem willing enough, but just busy schedules, conflicting. They're sometimes not both here at the same time, and then maybe I'm using the camera. It's just, I know I'm making excuses for them, but it's something they still want to do. In a case you don't know, but they had this winter, I think it was, not sure how that even started. Maybe it was last part of last year. We had I had put in like or I said people can submit questions for the boys if they would have any questions for them, and they agreed to sit down and do a Q&A and answer those questions. So I think that would be really neat if they did that. As always, I hope your day is going great. Thanks for hanging out with me here in my little shed, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.